Thank you, Chairman, and I'd like to welcome our guests here today. And look, I've been looking at, the way the IFA worked so far in this. The IFA National Sheep Committee brought the campaign for stronger support for sheep sector to the department on the afternoon of the 21st of February. And the IFA Sheep Chairman, Kevin Comiskey, submitted a letter to Minister Charlie McConalogue at the time highlighting the deepening income crisis on sheep farmers, setting out urgent need for immediate direct support. This was requested by the Chair of the Food Vision Group last Friday. Following a request from Minister McConalogue, the Chair of the Food Vision Beef and Sheep Group convened a meeting of the group focused on the sheep sector last Friday. The purpose of the meeting was to discuss the market situation in the sheep sector with presentations from the department and on Board Bia and Tagus on current supports and activities to inform stakeholders' discussions on what more can be done to support the sector in the current crisis. As outlined in the meeting, the sector is currently in crisis, with sheep farmers' margins effectively wiped out, dropping 81% to just €7 a ewe in 2022, and based on the presentations from both Tagus and the Board Bia, limited opportunities for any significant increase in 2023. This crisis can only be alleviated by immediate direct support for the sheep farmers from the government, which they did, in fairness to the package for the pig sector last year. That's badly needed for the sheep sector. Direct targeted supports of €30 a ewe to support the economic viability of the sector must be provided. Store lamb finishers are a vital outlet for hill sheep farmers and play a key role in our production supply systems. Direct supports are critical to maintain this outlet for hill sheep farmers, and farmers must be directly supported to offset the cost of shearing and incentivised to present wool in optimum conditions to facilitate further processing. We need action now. Without it, in Ireland, the second largest farm sector, carried out on 36,000 farms, which many of them are West Cork in my own constituency, and some of the most difficult land types in the country, could be at risk. The committee's decision to visit the department follows on from last week's protests, which took place in Roscommon town, where hundreds of sheep farmers rallied together to highlight the worsening crisis in the sector. The IFA made a case to Minister McConalogue that the support of €30 a ewe was needed to the sector. Instead, the Minister went with €12, which is way too low given the impact of the inflation in the sector. And the questions I just want to ask was, have you left it a bit too late? That's many are critical of the IFAs, that they moved too late in this. Why did the IFA wait until there was a crisis in the sheep sector? And why have these measures not been brought forward when the Minister announced €12 a ewe and IFA waited, as I say, until the trade had hit rock bottom? A couple more questions and I'll put them all together because I want to give others a chance. Kevin Comiskey said that the process agreed was so great that they were effectively destroying their own supply. Further price pressure in recent days is not acceptable. As we approach the key religious festivals in March and April, demand for lamb will improve. Factories must immediately reflect the improving market conditions and the price they pay. Why are the process, do you think, allowed also to dictate the price from week to week in the mart trade? And what relation is this to the importing of lamb into Irish market and going through the factory gates for processing? And the third question I have is, what quantity of lamb, sheep are being imported and are going through factories in Ireland at present, and what stamp of origin is on them as they leave the factories and head for retail in Ireland, or as exported back out of the country? In other words, is this meat stamped with Board Bia approval, do you think? Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, Deputy, and quite a bit there. And I suppose, look, you're right, and I suppose we highlighted more recently back in Athlone in Roscommon, and our chairman was in Dublin in Kildare Street, highlighting how serious the situation is at the moment. But if we roll back on this, and it was the Minister that decided he was going to have a roadshow, with the proposals around CAP back in 2020, 2021, 2022, and we were very clear from the onset of CAP that we needed a proper support package both for the beef, the livestock sector, and the sheep sector, and our position was steadfast from the start that we needed €30 a ewe to ensure the viability of that sector. So this is an ongoing campaign we had. We reheated the campaign obviously when the pressure came on the sector in more recent times, but I'd have to say, our campaign, as I say from the start, was very, very clear, and I suppose to back that up, and we've seen the figures from Teagasc clearly demonstrating that last year, including the sheep welfare payment, that the margin in sheep production last year per ewe was €7 a ewe, and like we all know, that's totally unsustainable. And the other area was around the store lambs, and we all know as well the impact of the Russian invasion on Ukraine, what happened to all input costs, and in particular for the store lamb farmers, so the cost of feed or the cost of meal, had a massive price increase. So obviously that sector was losing serious money in finishing lambs last winter. So that was why we escalated the campaign. But like the campaign had been continuously ongoing, and so you mentioned, and as we said already, approximately 20% of the exports leaving this country is lamb that is imported into this country. So look, but my understanding is, and speaking to people involved in the sector, both farmers and industry, that the extra lambs coming in to bring efficiencies. Look, I would question that myself, and the way that lamb is labelled going out, obviously, is questionable as well. And I know my colleague here, Kevin Komuski, our sheep chairman, has been dealing more in that area. And Kevin, I might hand that over to you to deal with that part of the question.
Thanks, President, and just reiterate what the President has said there. I certainly didn't leave it late, nor the Sheep Committee didn't leave it late, because it's just exactly 12 months since I highlighted this, that there was a crisis going to be in the sector. And I seen it coming down the road, and I said coming into the back end, last March I pointed it out, March of 2022, I said there was coming into the back end of 22 and into early 2023, we were running into a crisis. Unfortunately, we seen no action on that, and that's why we went ahead and we had the meeting in Athlone and various places, Tuam and Tinahely, and presented the document, as you said and pointed out correctly, to the Minister. And indeed, I find it very disappointing when I see the government and government ministers coming out and making statements, and indeed department officials coming out and saying, thumping their craw basically about what they're giving to farmers. And ANC supports, they pointed out to us at the Sheep Vision group meeting, they said they were getting 250 million in ANC payments. Those ANC payments in 2007 was 257 million. And with inflation taken into account, there should be 380 million in 2023. To hear them coming out, and it really twists me gut, basically, to hear ministers, officials coming out saying that acres is going to be a support to sheep farmers. It certainly is going to be a support, and sheep farmers will avail of it, but every other farmer will avail of it, both dairy, beef, tillage, every other sector as well. And it is acres is an environmental payment for environmental actions that is going to help the department, the minister and the government achieve their targets that they have set. It is not a direct payment to sheep farmers, and that has to be pointed clearly out to the Minister, and that's why he came with his €12 and he's trying to cover up this acre scheme, and I am not accepting that, and I want to make it very clear here today. Going back to the carcass lamb coming in, I'm on the record and I monitored the lamb coming in as Vice Chairman, and I did point out earlier that's where the labelling issues and all that, and the Board BIA, the Department and the FSAI has a major role to play there. We do have the figures, we would have the figures, Tomas would have them there, and I think that's basically on those 2 points. Thanks Deputy.
So the figures, Deputy.
Sorry, just 1 second.
Oh, sorry.
Tomas. We have done a vote all, so Senator Lombard is going to take the chair, and the senators here will continue the discussion. So we've done a vote all, okay? Sorry, Tomas. No,
Okay, thanks, Chairman. So I suppose to answer the Deputy's question in relation to the figures, consistently the levels of live imports have ranged between 300 and 400,000 live lambs for direct slaughter from Northern Ireland, with carcass imports ranging from 6,000 to 8,000 kilos or tonnes a year So as you can see, when you put those together, they're effectively 20% of the overall production. In relation to the labelling, Kevin has dealt with that, and that has been a clear call out that there are competent authorities there in relation to the obligations on the processors in relation to labelling. Just to make the point in relation to the current prices, though, Deputy, I think it's important to keep in context the order of events here. In 2020, the average price for the entire year was $4.97 a kilo for lamb. In 2021, it was $6.67, and in 2022, it was $6.80. In effect, we had got prices to a place where there was a reasonable return for sheep farms, had we not, as the President said, had the crisis in the Ukraine, which exploded the actual input costs on our farms. And unfortunately, as been alluded to already, lamb is an expensive protein. And the market seemingly has not been able to return any higher a price, whilst at the other hand we have incurred these additional costs of production, which has effectively eroded our margins. So it's important to put into context that we're effectively almost €2 a kilo above where we were only 3 years ago. But what is creating the imbalance and is eroding the margins is not effectively the price per se, it's the actual cost of production on the farm that's impacting on it. And you will have noted, Deputy, from numerous communications, indeed from IFA throughout the last number of years, approaching every budget annually and indeed prior to the discussions on the last cap, that IFA's policy position has been a call out for a direct support payment of €30 per ewe prior to any of this, and it remains. Thanks, Deputy.